2. Welcome back to the Brakecast. I'm your co-host, Brandon.
And I'm your co-host, Jake.
And today we have a special guest, a new guest, Mr. J. Clubb himself. J. Clubb, introduce yourself and just who you are and what you about.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. Well, I guess I'm J. Clubb Jackson, my name. But yeah, been these guys' friends for, since I was a little kid. And so
long time.
Still try and hang out and everything, but privileged to be on the podcast today.
We appreciate you coming
myself, on. Just a little bit. I graduated from Mizzou not too long ago, about a month ago. Degree in natural resources and emphasis in forest management. So you can call me a tree hugger or whatever you want, but I'm a forest guy. So that's what I do.
That's cool. That's kind of a segue into our topic today. Today, this podcast is all about nature. What we like about it, cool things in nature, animals, plants, whatever you think. That's what we're here for today. So Jackson, we'll kind of have you start off since you're the guest. Just start us off on the topic, your favorite stuff, just whatever you want to start talking about. We'll kind of bounce in and say our own stuff.
Yeah. So, I got into, the outdoors and nature and the whole aspect of, being outside as a little kid. They say you grow up into it and you'll stick with it. And it's kind of my mentality now is that going into school, I wanted to do something, but wasn't too sure. But I just realized what my roots were, and that was loving nature, being outside. I think it's for anybody. Forest health, forest therapy has come around, and what that shows is that being outside can cause great aspects to your life, reducing health risk, just keeping the stress away. It's a place of serenity. I'm sure you guys feel the same way because, scouts and growing up and everything, having campouts and being outside, we just enjoyed the nature.
And scout campouts. And from last week's podcast, which we actually filmed like 5 minutes ago, other campouts.
Those were fun campouts. Yeah.
Those were. I actually want to bounce onto that. So that is actually a lot of information for our listeners out there and viewers. Yet being outside, there's science behind it, serotonin, vitamin D, endorphins. One of the best things to do too, like if you're feeling down or even depressed, is just to go outside and walk. Like I've heard that advice, and it's, sometimes I'm feeling down, I'll just go outside and just take a quick walk, and you feel so much better. Like there's just something to me about being outside that just makes you feel better.
Yeah, it's both. Being outside and the exercise part of the walking too. Because I know a couple weeks ago I had a COVID, and I was, I just felt like kind of congested, I guess. My head hurt, all that stuff. It literally felt better like the second I went outside. Like I don't want to say that's the cure for COVID, but it certainly helps.
It helps. Like we're meant to be outside. Like it's just in our DNA. We have all this sort of stuff, the sun, everything like that. Like we're meant to be outside, and nature can provide that, which is why it's always important. Clubb, I know you'll kind of toot on this one, but always to pick up your trash, help protect the environment and stuff like that in any way you can, wildlife, things like that, because that's not always a guarantee. I mean, we kind of see it and stuff like that, deforestation, all that. Just make sure you kind of keep, leave no trace. I always like to say, find it, keep it better than you found it.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson learned from scouts. And like you said, conservation is a huge aspect of what I do. And so, I think we've evolved as a society to where we're all starting to realize the things that we do now and how we're advancing. Things we used to do way back in the day, today have completely switched around. And so, one thing I like to do is tell others and then spread the word of, hey, even if you've come from an area where, let's say, it's a very urbanized population, you don't really have that nature aspect. And it's tough for people to even get introduced to that. Because, like, if you've grown up in, let's say, a city and never even been to the woods, you might be startled to not know what to do. And I think forest health and therapy came from, I think, Japan. It started, and it's this whole trend. You can look it up about introducing people to the outdoors, having organized tours, and like just learning the aspects of what is out there and what you can actually enjoy.
Vlog, another break vlog recommendation. looking up forest therapy. Add that to the break vlog recommendation list.
That's right.
Someday we'll make one, but for now it's on the imaginary list up there with Trailer Park Boys. And we said something else, but I totally forgot.
Yeah, we'll look back in the podcast.
Yeah,
there's a list.
Yeah, that's especially huge. I feel like you said it started in Japan, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I can't recall the guy's name, but the article that originated from was out of Japan, and it's been widespread introduced to the States now. And that's what I've learned more at kind of my senior year in Indian of college, is that they are starting to try and introduce these, lessons and like teachings and whatnot to more of the public. And then also those places that maybe not have the access to, let's say, internet or whatnot, getting conservation groups out there. I know NBC has started doing some of that. I can't remember the acronym for that either. There's tons of groups now, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's huge. Especially for like cities, right. like what Tokyo is like tens of millions of people, and like you're not going to see probably a tree if you walk through there.
Yeah, I think that's like part of the reason we're like, this is something that we should look into, because like you were saying, Brandon, also like it reduces the stress and it gives you those vitamins and gives you those essential nutrients where it makes your daily life even better.
Yeah. Well, I can kind of speak. So here in the Valley in Arizona, that's where Phoenix is. We have a lot of desert here, but fortunately in Arizona, so unlike Missouri, where, kind of like oaks and stuff like that, we have a lot of pine trees up north. Mm-hmm. We are like, it's up north is kind of like what you would think of Colorado, mountains, pine trees, things like that. So I do enjoy going up north. It's where the Red Rocks is, and that's the Grand Canyon and the Red Rocks. But down here in the Valley, we have a lot of mountainous regions, and I don't know what it is about being kind of on top of a mountain or like a high elevation, but you definitely feel good being up there as well and being able to take in the landscape. Because here in the Valley, we don't have many trees. Like we have palm trees, but we have a lot of like, cactuses and stuff like that. But it's definitely nice. At least we have up north. But so if you don't have access to a forest, there is other outdoor stuff like going to like a state park, regardless of forest or anything.
Like it doesn't have to be a forest.
Yeah,
like
I just want to clarify that for the viewers in case you're someone like me who lives in the Valley, or maybe there's not as many trees around. It doesn't have to be, you just need to go and run into the middle of all these trees. There's other stuff out there for you.
It's nature.
Yeah.
It's all nature. And just being outside with it, learning about it, I think that's what makes it enjoyable too, like you're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's ecosystems out there. Like, again, I'm in the Southwest, so it's definitely different than being in the Midwest.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, another great thing about nature, Clubb, I know you are very experienced in this topic, hunting.
Yeah. Something I was born with too, runs in the family, and so still do it today. But, I mean, for those that, never heard, or everyone's heard of hunting, I hope, but, like that maybe just are too frightened of the fact or just the whole aspect of killing another animal. I mean, it's a touchy topic, and it's not something to where like, oh, if you want to be in nature, you got to be a hunter, or you got to be a fisherman, or you got to do something in that field. You don't have to do any of that. Like you're saying, going on a walk or just enjoying the sights. I mean, everyone loves swimming. Find a pond or find a lake and jump in.
And when we talk about hunting, I just want to kind of put this clarification. We're not talking about poaching or like big game like that. We're talking about normal hunting. Like we don't, I mean, I personally don't endorse like poaching and anything like that. I don't think anyone does, but so I just want to make the clarification in case you're listening and you're like, what? Nah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of going off lakes and stuff. In Arizona, we have a lot of like big lakes like that. So we have something called the Horseshoe. If you look online, it's just this giant rock formation with the horseshoe at the bottom. There's like bits of a lake where you can kayak and stuff. There's Lake Saguaro, a lot of cliff jumping you can do there, and Lake Pleasant, and Lake Havasu. Lake Havasu is like the non-redneck version of Lake of the Ozarks, but bigger. We actually have the London Bridge in Lake Havasu, like the OG London
I've
Bridge.
seen that.
Yeah. And Lake Havasu. And then like Lake Pleasant is just another big spot, a lot of boating and stuff like that. Another thing too, you can get into boating, like having boats and stuff like that. That's nature. You're still hanging out on the boats, the lake life.
Yeah. If you don't have money for like a speedboat or a pontoon though, just get a canoe.
Yeah, or kayak.
Go for a little canoe or kayak trip.
Or the paddle boats. The one, with you got to like swing your legs around and the boat paddles.
If you want massive
tiring
quads.
boat possible there is.
Yeah. Or the paddle boards. Those things are dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are fun. I know people do like yoga and stuff on them.
Yeah.
Like
well, I mean, it makes
I've
sense to
seen
engage
that.
your core because it's not like it's stable bottom.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I remember one time we went to Florida, like Cape San Blas, Florida, with my like family, and we got paddle boards to try them out in like the little bay area. And me and Abram, we were doing push-ups on them. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But
I know.
Yeah, that's nature too,
Yeah, or Hawaii. I've been there. Hawaii. Oh my Lord! If you love nature, you'll love Hawaii. Like, yeah, there's there's touristy parts, but there are some parts like it's just jungle and it's awesome. My uncle used to live out there, and his job was he would just take people on tours, and he never wore shoes like ever. He just be barefoot. Like the dude was like a hippie. But
we went to Hawaii and we did that actually. The jungle tour and
Yeah.
they had a bunch of canoes that fit like 6 people or whatever. And I remember like, the guy, he didn't really speak good English or whatever, but we were going along this bank and he finds this plant and he just picks it out of the ground and he gives it to my dad and he goes, "Eat this." And my dad's going, "Okay, whatever, we're in Hawaii, I'll try it." It was fresh ginger, probably the best ginger he's ever had in his life. And he had no idea that was the type of ecosystem. That's where it grew the best.
Yeah.
All these things. And it's just like, man, like that's what you get to experience with it.
Dude, there's nothing better than fresh. So for Boy Scouts, it's a high adventure. It's called Sea Base. You stay in the Florida Keys for about a week. So you basically just stay on an island. And one of the things we got to do is deep sea fish. And we caught fresh mahi. We skinned it out. Like when we got back, we skinned it and cooked it. I've never had better fish in my life. Like I think about it all the time. Just nothing better. We got to keep all the fish we got to take. Obviously, it had to be a certain size and stuff. We got to keep everything, fillet it. And I mean, we ate like kings. We ate all the fish. We ate like half the ocean, it felt like. But it was cool. That's just kind of another thing you can do, like having that fresh food like that. Even like something like a wine tour. Yeah, it's not the most naturey outdoorsy, but you still get to pick the grapes and all this stuff, or apple picking. I did that when I was younger too.
Oh yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, get some good apples.
When we went to Costa Rica, probably it was like 7 years ago now. But we did like a little snorkeling, like kayak tour thing, and then after that, the guide took us into like this little beach area and just found a coconut on the ground, and he like taught us how to like open it with a rock and stuff, and like we ate it and drank the water. It was so good.
I actually looked this fact up. I can't remember if it's 100% correct. It's about 100 and some people a year die from a coconut falling on their head.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's actually really dangerous. I think it's more. There's some statistic like you're more likely to do that than some. So that's break vlog piece of advice. Don't be walking under coconut trees because you actually could die from that, and you would die in the most like one of the silliest ways possible.
Oh no, that's not good.
Yeah. But again, kind of tying back to what Jake was saying, nature is so sick, it's so versatile. The one thing I love about living in the United States is I think that we have just the most versatility. You could the East Coast, the West Coast, everything in the middle. There's like states don't look like each other at all. Colorado, like from Colorado to New Mexico, which are right next to each other, way different. It's the coolest thing. And that's what I love about the United States, at least, and how we're blessed to have that with nature. So it's so easy to get different ecosystems where you're at.
Going off what I can go. But going off what Brandon said, I mean, just the diversity of everything. Like last summer, I was working in Indiana and Illinois, and they're right next to each other, but stuff we see in Indiana totally different from what we see in Illinois. And then we come back to Missouri, and it's just like, what is going on? There's so many different things, and you travel from just one state over, and there can be so many things that are different.
I mean, another prime example of that, Missouri and Kansas, they couldn't be more different
in Kansas.
And all that, all that has to do which stuff I learned in college, physical geography and climate, so, the Rocky Mountains, they kind of provide like, I don't know, a blockage of rain. That's why Kansas is so dry. And then, you get the moist air from the Gulf of Mexico pulling up into Missouri, the southern states, that area. That's why they have that climate, it's all so many different factors, but.
Right. Yeah. Well, I remember, so when I drove to move out here from Missouri to Arizona, like I drove through Kansas and that was different. And then I drove through Oklahoma and then through Texas and then New Mexico to Arizona. And it was crazy. So at the start, like the start of each state, it'd be like Missouri. So like Missouri, like the start of Kansas is like Missouri. Then you get to like halfway and all of a sudden it's just Kansas. And then you get, then you're done. You get to Oklahoma and the start of Oklahoma looks like Kansas. But then by the end, it's like Oklahoma/Texas and then Texas. And, then you get to the start of New Mexico and New Mexico looks more like Texas, lots of ranches, things like that. But by the time you're in like peak New Mexico, it looks just like Arizona or the Southwest. And then, North Arizona looks like Colorado, and then the valley is different. Like even just driving like hours apart can be different. Like for me, if I drive 2 hours north to like Flagstaff or however long it is, I'm in somewhere completely different than where I am right now. And that's what's so sick. Cool. 2 hours, like 2 hours, you could be somewhere completely different. That's nature, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why I go on road trips too. Like not just fly everywhere.
Yeah. And then it's kind of cool when you look at the plane and you get to see like different landscapes.
That is cool too, but like there's something about driving through places, you get to experience it more.
Yeah, all the small towns
more
and
like
stuff you get to
human
go to.
level, Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys prefer, road trip or plane? Let's say it's a 6-hour drive.
Plane. No, not plane. Road trip. I actually did a 6-hour. I went to LA and that was cool.
Yeah, I'd probably drive. If it's under like 12 hours, I'd probably drive.
Yeah, I've driven 12 hours in a day like twice. And I was going to Reno, Nevada and then back. And that sucked because I went through some hillbilly parts of Nevada. Like there's Las Vegas and there's like not much else. Like Carson City was all right. And Reno, I don't like it. If you're someone from Reno, I'm sorry, but I hate that place. It's like a sad Las Vegas. It's called the littlest big city in the world. Like it's its title.
Like going off driving and then just seeing all those different communities or whatever. It's like you find like every kind of niche out there or whatever group, if you want to call it that. Like, I mean, from where we come from, I'm from Missouri and I mean, stayed here, I'm still here, but going out to a different place, you're like, well, they're a little different than we are, or wow, they kind of live, off the grid. They're kind of doing their own thing. I mean, but seeing all those different communities, it's like, just reminds you of how, big we are as a community, like as a whole country, like there's so many different kinds of groups of people here that do their own thing. And I mean, experiencing that I think is also pretty cool.
Yeah. Kind of bouncing. Oh, sorry, Jake. You
no, yeah.
Okay. So kind of bouncing off that. So when I first moved to Arizona, like it was such a culture shock. It reminded me Arizona is like California light, not in their policies, but just kind of the way people dress and act and stuff. And obviously being from Missouri, like I'd say it's like Southern light, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of like a mixture. It's a mixture between the Midwest and the South. Like that's the best way to describe Missouri.
Yeah,
it's a Midwest state, but it's definitely not. I don't know. It's a mix, but going from that to then like California, basically, or West Coast, it's just weird. Like half the clothes I was wearing, I was like, no one wears that. The things I was saying, people like gave me weird looks. I was like, what? There's nothing wrong with that. People thought I had Southern accent, and I was like, I don't have one. You're just that. You're just that West Coast.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't have one.
Yeah.
That's just so crazy. Just kind of a shell shock. One of my favorite places I've actually driven through, I drove through it twice to get from Missouri to here, but it's a town called Dalhart, Texas. And it's at the top of Texas, like where the little square is at before the big thing. And that's one of my favorite like towns I've ever been in. So if you're in Dalhart, Texas, like you rock. Great gas station. It was a cool spot.
Was it a Buc-ee's?
Huh?
Was it a Buc-ee's?
I can't remember, but it was just cool though. But it like driving, you get to see those small towns like that in those communities.
And then something like going off, like, I guess the community and the people type, all the different animals that are spread across our entire country. Like, I mean, going back to, I guess, when we were talking about hunting, like mainly focused on deer and turkey here. But let's say, I mean, I get a deer and I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty big. Go up north maybe a state or two and that thing's tiny, you know?
Yeah.
And just like I've never really seen a gator that I would call, like, you know, monster size here in Missouri, but go south, go down to Florida, and it's just eye opening, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing too
crazy
about traveling, is that you get to see all these different kinds of animals. Like going to Colorado and seeing the elk. I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, I've never seen an elk before, but I go there and it's like, now I want to keep seeing them, you know.
Yeah.
You get introduced and you're like, man, this is so cool.
Yeah, or moose even.
Yeah.
Or last time I was in Colorado, I saw a moose. Yeah. Yeah, a couple
nuts. You know, in Missouri, we don't have moose.
Yeah,
we got
but
nieces.
We got geese.
You talked about conservation earlier. You know, they just reintroduced wolves, I think, to Missouri.
I did
which
hear
is kind of
that.
crazy.
They're doing it to, aren't they doing it to target another kind of species? Is it, I don't know if it's the boar or not, but
I don't know.
I think it's something to like mitigate another kind of population that's kind of overrun. But I mean, they did that with elk too, just for grazing. And I think that's so cool because we never really had elk here in Missouri.
Yeah.
Either. And now you see them, like when we were down in southern Missouri last summer, it's like I almost saw an elk every morning.
Wow.
Like, yeah, this is wild. You know, we were taking pictures and everything. I felt like a millennial, but it's so cool. I was like, man, I want to show everyone this.
And now we got black bears too.
Yeah.
And mountain lions even.
Yeah. And I want to kind of go off. So here in Arizona, we got like scorpions around here. We got road runners and what we have some other stuff. One of my favorite things. So we have something, it's called a haboob. And it's like a tiny little dust tornado. Like, and you'll see them, it's like just a little dust tornado. It's just dust and wind, and it'll kind of circle. It's not dangerous. It's like a level 0 tornado. It's not going to hurt you, but you'll just be driving along the highway and you'll just look over, see a little haboob, and it's just kind of this little like tornado. And we also have monsoon season here. So like sandstorms, like those things suck because all of a sudden you got all this sand, just like all this rain and sand just like blowing around. Like, but like that's not the thing in Missouri, you get tornadoes, but here, like tornadoes don't exist. Like there's not tornado warnings. We don't have any of that. But in Missouri, like we had tornado drills, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's real.
another kind of animal is like fish. Different places have different fish you can fish for. And that's what's kind of cool too. If you ever get into fishing, that's how you can really figure out kind of what the state's about with just the fish that you can get.
It tells you a lot about the ecosystem that's there, you know,
kind
of fish you can see. And I think, I mean, I love fishing too. You know, all of us have fished, and just another thing where it's like being in nature, but it's so calming. I feel like that, you know, you don't have the stress of, oh, am I going to catch one or not? No, it's just being out there and throwing a pole in the water, you know. It's just,
as the great Luke Bryan said, hunting, fishing, and living every day.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
You just
yeah, and you don't need like extra entertainment when you're out there, you know. Like you shouldn't be fishing and like watching a YouTube video like on the side.
Unless you're watching a Brakecast or a break vlog video.
Yeah, unless you're listening to this while you're fishing.
Then you're okay. But anything else, nothing. Not even the Joe Rogan podcast. No beef with Joe Rogan podcast, by the way.
But this would
unless it gets us views.
Yeah, unless it gets us views, then we do have beef. Yeah, break vlog. We challenge Jake Paul to a boxing match.
In nature.
Yeah, in nature for the podcast.
I'll start training for that.
No, a podcast boxing match. So we have to have our headsets on and we box.
Through the cameras.
Yeah. No, but yeah, fishing, it just being out there. You know, it's funny. A lot of, I guess this is kind of taking a little bit of a turn, but it'll kind of relate back. A lot of us are like overstimulated. We're never actually bored because we have our phones, we have all this sort of stuff. And sometimes just being out where you don't have access to that and just letting your mind wander can really do some healing. You can have some deep reflective thought and you can kind of figure stuff out. Like we move 1,000,000 miles per hour and just in the world today, we don't have time to just sit. But when you go into nature and you unplug or whatever. I hate using that word. It's kind of like corny, but if you just kind of go out there and not have any devices and just think, you can get a lot more stuff done and be way more productive than just million miles per hour, the computer, whatever, phone, all this sort of stuff.
No, that is a great point, because that's I've been trying to focus on that too. Like sometimes if I go on a walk, I'll just leave my phone at the house.
Yeah, I usually just listen to podcasts, but I just don't go on my phone.
And then, or sometimes like when I'm driving, I just won't listen to music. No podcast, nothing.
Okay,
I'll just think. Right.
Yeah, all right. You're kind of like a serial killer.
Sometimes you just gotta reflect.
Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, that. I don't know about driving with no music on.
Well, people used to do that before they had radio.
That's true. You got no music and the windows down.
Okay, that's different, but
blowing.
Yeah,
I always
but
got the
depends
windows
on where
down,
you're at
so.
too. If it's if it's a busy street, I'm playing music. I'm not trying to hear all the horns honking and random people yelling. But like if you're on the back road or something, it is nice. Yeah. I'll give you that. But I thought you were just all the time, just straight face driving.
No, I'm just saying like sometimes.
Okay.
That's probably
I thought you just
like
never
a quarter of the time. No.
I'm like, that's just a little weird if you're just straight face, just watching. Dude, I remember for the driver's test, you had to have the radio off. I know. I took my driver's test 3 times, so.
Did you have the radio on each time?
No,
sorry, we're gonna have to fail you. You were listening to AC/DC.
Yeah, no, but they had the radio off, so you just hear the pencil like marking. And it's just the most stressful thing. I failed it. I mean, I failed it twice, so it was pretty stressful. I'm just an idiot too.
Probably one of my favorite things now about my job is that we've been starting pretty much 6 a.m. every day. I mean, it's hot. We're trying to beat the heat.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially when you hunt to like listening to everything wake up in the woods.
Oh.
Or just being outside. Let's say you're in a field or something, you're walking around, you can hear crickets going, all the birds chirping, like everything, like life, waking up, and you're like, man, I'm surrounded by that. And that's, I mean, one of my favorite noises, or I guess parts of doing what I do, is just like being out there in nature, and then also just the serenity and listening to things. It's like, there's so many different things.
I get some of that too with my job now, because part of the time I just walk around in a field, and it's just nice.
Yeah,
I always stumble upon like a snake or something though, so that sucks. But
yeah, dude, with sort of sunlight and stuff, so sunlight is actually the best way to wake up and feel refreshed. Like it's naturally ingrained. I have some. It's called a hatch clock, and so what it does, it has a light in the clock as well. And I have it set 45 minutes. It'll slowly start to light on. And then as the time goes on, like every 15 minutes, it gets brighter and brighter. So then when I wake up, like my body thinks it's like the sunlight. It's like artificial sunlight. So it helps me wake up faster and feel better. Because I also like to do white noise when I sleep. I always do the ocean crashing or like the wind or something like that. Just because, again, it soothes your body and helps me go to sleep faster. But I definitely think there's like a science behind it. Like when you sleep outdoors, you go to bed when it's night, your body gets tired because it sees the darkness. Then you wake up refreshed. And you get to wake up with the birds and everything chirping and crittering, whatever.
Yeah, those are the most relaxing mornings, like when you're camping or something. You wake up, it's still a little bit like brisk out, you get your coffee going.
Yeah, the Cub Scout scamps, man. Yeah, as I told y'all last week, or, I guess 10 minutes ago, if we talk about filming, Zach and I were in the same Boy Scout troop, but Jackson and I were in the same Cub Scout troop. One of the ways we really met. And so we got to camp out and do a lot of cool stuff. Shout out Camp Thunderbird. That place closed down, but that place was dope.
Yep. I love going there, man.
But camping is so much fun. If you've never been, I definitely recommend it. You can get a good tent, get some friends, and just kind of sleep under the stars. Don't go too deep in the woods. I listen to a lot of like true scary stories, so I've become pretty paranoid about stuff like that. A lot of stuff can happen though. Don't camp on your own. Like unless you know what you're doing and you're in a good environment, don't camp on your own.
Yeah.
Because there's some people that will do whatever they want. They will like slit your throat in your tent.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Oh, go backpacking. I mean, even if you're not near that, just you have a backyard, one night just set up a tent.
Why not? Just go outside. Nobody's stopping you from doing that.
No one. Absolutely zero people are stopping me.
Unless you live in a neighborhood and you have a HOA.
You have a Karen. Just sleep in a tent. Don't like party in there. because there's camping and then there's party camping.
Yeah.
Go and camp in like legit camp, like, hike around during the day, cook food outside. It is a really great experience. And it makes you kind of appreciate nature more and also appreciate what you have, I think, too. Because I'm like, oh man, I'm so lucky that I got this stuff. And that we got beautiful nature to be out in.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Yeah, and back to the hunting thing, like we're talking about waking up super early, hearing everything like wake up. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Like being out there before the sun's up. There's
That's
nothing else like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just get so much done in a day. Like it's like waking up early is so cool because like it's like 12 or 1, and you're like, dude, I've done like more than a lot of people have for the day. Like I've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah. With hunting, like you walk in the woods for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes before the sun comes up, and then you just sit there and then just watch the sunrise. That's a good experience.
Yeah. It's still that that morning cold where it like wakes you up almost, where it's like, all right, yeah, once the sun comes up, then I'm gonna take a nap. But before then, man, I'm awake. I'm ready,
Yeah.
Dude, that was like scouts and like cold campouts, bro. So like with us, we always recommended that you change out all your clothes because all the sweat can freeze overnight if it's that cold. Problem is, oh my goodness, man, I've had, you gotta change all your clothes, like everything. I've had some times, man, that cold shocks you. like I felt like I was getting electrocuted. Like it shocked me. I was like, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Like, I lost my breath.
In my Boy Scout troop, we had the misery camp out, and we'd have it every January, and like they'd pick the coldest weekend of the January to do it. So it was like probably 10 degrees outside and snowing, and we were out there camping.
Dude, cold weather camping sucked. Once I got older, all I went to was like summer camp. We had a climbing camp out, so we would just sleep in a climbing gym on the mats.
Oh, that's not even a camp.
Dude, we climb like all night and then sleep on the mats. It was the best thing. They stopped doing that after I got Eagle. I was like, dude, I don't want to be outside in February. I want to sleep on the mats. It wasn't even camping. You were just going to a climbing gym staying overnight. But it was the best thing. I just went to summer camp, that, and then the high adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we did camp outs like every month, and I loved them. They're a lot of fun. Yeah,
we had different, we had like shooting sports, we had like skiing, we had a bunch of different ones too. That was fun. But being outside the nature, that was really cool. And you get to do a lot of fun stuff, and you just get that connection with other people too, because you get to share that awesome experience with each other.
I feel like social media is a good aspect for that too. It's like you can make groups or whatever. You can follow, I don't know, whatever you're on. Just like, hey, you're doing this. Let's go kayaking some weekend. Or
Facebook groups.
Let's go camping or something.
They're everywhere. Like there's Arizona hikers. Like I've followed that. I don't follow them anymore because I get so many notifications. I'm like, I don't want all these to blow up my phone. But it's just like, people want to do stuff like, oh, does anyone want to go hiking? You could research. I follow pages on TikTok. One of them's Arizona hikers, best spots to hike. So they have all the known spots, but there's places that aren't as well known, like, different trails. So I'm able to access that, which is really cool. But like, if you do the research, you can find some of the best spots out there.
Yeah. Just look up in your area, wherever you're at, you can search conservation area or campground near me, and I'm sure one will pop up.
Yeah. Does anyone kind of have any final thoughts or anything final they want to say before we wrap up?
Well, I'd say just go outside.
Yeah. Facts. Best advice we can give you on this podcast today.
If you're stressed, just put the phone down, go outside. That's it.
Enjoy it. It's good for you.
It really is. Science says so, and your body will thank you.
That's right.
But all right, with that, we are wrapping up. Jackson, it has been a pleasure for having you on the show. Thanks for coming out. We hope to have you on again at some point.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, of course. Yeah.
So this has been Brakecast. We got Jackson over here. And then I'm your co-host, Brandon.
I'm Jake.
And we will see you next week.